Hi, this is Kat with Beadaholique, and in this video I'm going to show you how you can finish off your peyote bead weaving by using a slide clasp. Now this is something that we typically use when we're doing loom because it requires a single strand of beads or a single line of beads going into that little well there at the very tip of the end. And the reason that you can't use this with peyote is the way that the beads are structured in their weaving. So if you just look here, you can see that they kind of look like a little zipper, like little teeth. And of course they're not sitting all in one row, so they're hard to use in a slide clasp. But I'm going to show you how we can morph this into fitting into that slide clasp. All right, so here I've been working on some odd count peyote. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish off one more row here just to kind of quickly show you how to do that last little turnaround, because each end of your peyote is going to be a little bit different. So right now you can see that I have my up beads, which I'll consider these ones here, and the down beads. And if you look on this side, I have that up bead on that last row. So what I want to do is I want to make these both match. So simply I'm just going to be picking up my 11-0 Miyuki Delicas and just weaving this last row, because now you can see that it's got a nice little up row. So this would just sort of be the last row of your pattern. Now I obviously am using just some very plain beads here to demonstrate, but you can finish off your pattern however you like. And this is just really, really easy. And like I said, I'm using 11-0 Miyuki Delicas. I have some 4-pound FireLine here on my size 12 beading needle. And I've chosen to do odd count peyote. This will work with even count. It just is a little bit more even when you use the odd count, and I'll show you kind of what I mean by that. All right, so we're just going to finish off our last little row here. And the clasp I'm going to be using today is, oops, pulled it right out of my hand, is the Elegant Elements clasp. And there's a lot of different sizes there, and this is the 29mm size. And I just want to let you know that this odd count that I'm doing here is 23 columns wide, or rows, depending on how you like to sort of see it. So I'm just finishing off doing my little turnaround in odd count peyote. We do have a video showing you how to do this, but I just wanted to do it really quick here because, as you know, when you weave, you're going to be coming out this top one here. So it is different from where you start, because you see that you'll be coming out the top there, but on your starting side, you're coming out the other way, even though your beads are the same. So there will be a little different turnaround when we get back to that front side, but we're just going to focus on assuming that you've gotten all the way to the end of your peyote bead weaving and you're coming out that front side. So what we're going to do is we're going to take, and for my demonstration here, I'm going to use some of our little pink beads. So you're going to pick up one seed bead there, and what you're going to do is you're going to create a little loop, and you're just going to go back through that bead that you're coming out of there. And what we're going to do is we're going to just allow that to just kind of sit on top. So we're just creating a little sort of extra row there. And then we're going to go down through the next bead of the next row there and pull our needle all the way through. And then you're going to go through the next up bead that's right there. And you're just going to kind of repeat, because you can see that we have that same thing happening again. So go ahead and pick up one of your colored beads there, the little pink ones, and we're going to go through and we're going to create another little loop. And this is how we're going to create that extra little loom-like pattern there. So again, just down through the next one and up through the up bead. Let me show you one more time, and then you just do this all the way across until you've reached the other side. So again, just going back through that last little bead that you're already coming out of. And honestly, you don't need to pull too tight, and don't worry if these wiggle around. I'm going to show you how to connect them in just a minute. All right, so keep going in the same fashion until we get all the way to the other side. All right, so I'm coming to the last couple here. The last one actually on this row. So you can see that we've kind of created this almost little binding on our edge there. Now, like I said, I'm using the pink beads so that you can see the difference here, but go ahead and continue to use whatever color you have been using to create your little beads. All right, so because we don't need to worry about this being too tight, but we do notice that they kind of flip-flop around back and forth. So all we're gonna do is we have come out our little blue bead here at the top. So I'm just gonna take my needle and just kind of run it through all of those little beads there. Just connecting them with one single strand, just so that they all line up and play nicely together. All right, so now before we go ahead and slide it onto our clasp, we can go ahead and just tie off our thread here. And I'm just going to go down through a couple little beads. And again, you don't want to pull too tight. We don't want anything to kind of get squished. But go ahead and let's see. I'm going to go through this bead here. Making sure that your thread doesn't catch there. All right. And to tie it off, I'm just getting my needle down and underneath one of those little thread bridges there. And I'm just going to create a little loop and just tie a little knot there. And then that's ready to be just put into the edge. So you can use your little thread zap or thread snips to just kind of come in there and just zap off that thread. There we go. All right. Okay, so this is what you'll have for your first side when you've completed that. All right, so before we add our clasp, what I want to do is I want to show you how to flip your thread around on the beginning side. So let me just go ahead and I'm just going to take my work and I'm just going to flip it over because I'm right-handed, so I always like to, generally work on the same side. So assume this is the side that you started to come out with. Now you need your thread to come out that top bead there. So what we're going to do is we're just going to do a nice little turnaround here. And we're going to go down through that little bead right there. And we're going to go through the one that's just adjacent. Now, as long as you follow the thread path, you'll be good. Some of these beads do get tight in here because we've been doing the turnaround on this side. So just don't even worry about it. All right, and through the next one there. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go down through the one that's on the other side. Up through one more. Oops. Down through that one right there. So that I'm coming out the second bead there. So now I can come back through and that first bead is going to be nice and anchored. So then it's just through there. So you just kind of do a little loop if you need to kind of turn around or you get sort of lost in those little bricks there. Just make sure that you kind of find your way to come out that second bead there and then come through that first bead. And then you would just repeat the same process that we did on the other side. All right, so let's flip our work back over. And again, so this is what we're ready to add into the well of our clasp. All right, so if you have everything ready, the only other thing I recommend that you might want to try doing, depending on your beads, is you can use a little dab of E6000 and you can actually just put it onto a toothpick and kind of stick it into the well there and get that all up in there, and then it will sort of create a nice little firm attachment for you because we're bedding the weight of our bracelet on these little beads here, so we can give them a little extra help. All right, so again, I'm just going to take this in my right hand. Sorry about all the flipping around. But what we're going to do is we're just going to take this and slide it into and go very slowly. And you might need to just kind of wiggle it around a bit and just go ahead and get those beads in there, and it should slide up into the little clasp very easily. There we go. All right, and you can just see that all those little pink beads just disappear right into that well there, and you can kind of see it right on the edge there that we have all of our pink beads inside the little well, and you can see that there's plenty of room in there, so if you did want to add that glue, you can do that, and then all of our beads are on the outside. But you can see what a nice finish that is. We do have a couple of those little sort of air pockets right there, but overall the illusion is really, really nice. And then all you need to do is just take a pair of chain nose pliers and you're just going to bend the edges down to cover that hole. And then I'm just going to take the edge there. There we go. Just to cover that up. So you can see how it creates a nice little smooth finish there at the end. And you do that at the top as well. And then you can just move on to the other side and just repeat. So that is how easy it is to add a slide clasp. And what I was saying about the odd count versus even count is you'll just see that on those edges there, it has a nice matchup to the end when you do odd count. If you did want to do this with even count, you would just have a little sort of open little pocket on one side. So if you do even count, I definitely recommend the glue. That way it won't kind of shift around in that slide clasp. All right, I hope you enjoyed this video. You can get all of these supplies and see even more tutorials by heading over to Beadaholique.com.